Hello and welcome to this full video build of the Italeri kit number 792 Scania 143 Topline in 1 to 22nd scale. I built the Scania as it was shown on the brochure at that time. With that we start with the unboxing. The model is from 1990 and the instructions are Italeri typical. The sprues have no leathers except from one yet but are marked with geometric shapes. The majority of the parts are from kit number 755 Scania 142H Turbo from 1980s. The second and third series of Scania are practically the same in terms of design. However, new parts were added for this kit, as it is the first Scania with a raised roof, which was introduced in 1987. This put Scania well behind its competitor Volvo, who offered a high cap roof called the Globetrotter as early as 1979. The new parts are in three sprues. One part is the cap roof and also the interior equipment, and then a wool sprue with the wind deflector, sun visor, air intake and the new dashboard. The parts are nicely molded, but the wind deflectors, the spoiler and the chassis were unfortunately warped. But I don't know if this comes from production or from storage. In any case, I have also already built the 143 Streamline. This was similarly warped. This starts the construction of the model, first with cutting out the parts for the chassis, engine and brakes from the sprue. The chassis must be shortened at the marked points, as it can also be used for other models. The axles and springs can be built without major problems. Almost all parts have to be sanded slightly after gluing. The engine included in this kit is the 40-liter V8, which produced up to 500 horsepower in the third series. The gluing of the chassis is problem-free. Only wrapping of the chassis itself poses problems, which could not be completely solved until the end. As a result, the cabin does not sit quite straight. Now we are at the cabin parts. The cabin is painted in red, like in the brochure, and the chassis with the bumper is painted in white. I paint the cabin in single parts because assembling and later inserting the interior from below is impossible. First, the cabin is primed grey and then painted red. The engine is also primed in grey and then painted in a turquoise tone. Painting the grille is a bigger challenge. I wanted to keep it black between the claps. So I painted it black first and then masked off these areas to paint the rest in red. This kit still comes with the older Italeri rims and wheels, made of plastic. I didn't use the plastic tires. I replaced them with tires from the accessories. The dashboard is also warped and needs to be pressed together with glue strips. The model has a lot of air tanks. They fit together well. However, all of them need to be sanded. The exhaust also needs to be modified for the third series. This requires sawing off the tailpipe and then replacing it with a part from the new sprue. Gluing the second axle is also not easy as on newer trucks, since this model does not have air suspensions yet. First, the axle must be placed on the chassis, and then both leaf springs must be glued on, otherwise the axle cannot be inserted. The tank has two square holes on top, which I close with putty. There would be two parts for this, but then this does not look so good. There are 5 air tanks on the battery box alone. Now the radiator grille, the interior and various add-on parts are primed grey. In the next step, the grille and other parts are painted red. Total, at least 2 layers of red on the parts. After the paint has covered satisfactorily, everything is painted with the clear coat. The interior is painted dark grey. The dashboard is painted in a darker grey. The add-on parts, which should also be white, are glued to the chassis before painting. The tank has to be sanded completely so that the glue joint is not visible anymore. The steering is built functional. For this the ends have to be melted. The wool chassis is primed with a white primer. Otherwise the white paint would not cover nicely. As always with trucks, it is difficult to get into all corners. Now the white paint Now the white paint is applied to the chassis and the corresponding attachments like the bumper. The radiator is painted in black, as well as other parts that should be black in the end. For example, the air intake, the sun visor, the floor mats. All parts that will receive a metal finish will get a special black glossy primer. The rims will be painted with chrome, the tank and exhaust with aluminium. For the dashboard, I've used the sticker provided. That will be the only sticker on the truck. On the rear rims, the wheel hub will remain white. So the rim was painted white first, so the hub can be taped off for the chrome paint. The interior will be glued. For this I cleaned the paint off the glue spots, so the glue will stick better. The underside of the cabin will be painted in black. Some parts of the engine are painted by hand, like the alternator or the exhaust. Also other parts are painted by hand, like the window seals. Now all parts of the engines are painted and can be glued together. On the radiator grill, the masking tape is taken away. This is always difficult because there is always a risk of damaging the clear coat. In some places, unfortunately, the paint ran under the tape and had to be corrected by hand. The interior is yet to install and finish the dashboard and the two side panels. The exhaust on the engine consists of 3 parts. Now the engine goes into the finished chassis and also the cardan shaft is connected. The other parts, like air filter and tank, are also glued on. Like already said, on this model the cabin is glued together only at the end. First the front is glued to the cabin floor and the dashboard, then the 2 sides are glued to the cabin. This must dry well before the rear side is glued on. The roof is only glued at the very end. The rear and front fenders are glued to the chassis. On the cabin roof, the holes for the spoilers still need to be drilled. For the headlights, I tested something new. I painted the rear sides silver instead of the plastic behind. The headlight comes directly to the bumper, as does the bottom steps. For the lettering of the truck, I have used photo etched parts. I fix photo etched parts with white glue. When you use super glue, you have only one chance to fix photo etched parts. When you use white glue, you have always the chance to change the position. The windows are glued with clear glue. For all trucks, I advise to saw the parts out of the sprue and not to cut them off, otherwise they can be cracked. In this model, it's very easy to glue the window first and then to put the roof on, in case a window falls through. Another not so easy point with this model is to put the cabin on the chassis. First only one side can be glued correctly and then first the cabin has to be put on the chassis. Only now you can glue the second tenon. This is enormously difficult. Gluing the sun visor and the steps is no problem. The spoiler and the side spoilers are again very difficult with the very thin connections. Besides that, the spoilers are slightly warped. Finally, the different handles like door handles, mirrors and rims, and the model is finished. Now you can see a 360-degree rotation of the finished model. If you liked the video, leave a subscription, thumbs up and write a comment. See you soon back here on the channel for the next video.